For the past 6 months, there have been a lot of rumors that Mario Kart 8 might be getting a second booster course pass. Do I believe these rumors? No, I don't at all. But, hypothetically, if there was to be a second booster course pass, how would I make it? Well, first off, this wouldn't be a booster course pass 2. This would just be a continuation of it. Also, this time around, there would be only 24 tracks instead of 48. So that means we'd be getting a Wave 7, Wave 8, and Wave 9. The reason for this is because all the tracks that get into the DLC have to be remade in Mario Kart Tour first. And as you can see, there's not very many tracks in Mario Kart Tour left that aren't already in Mario Kart 8. But before I talk about the tracks, I first want to talk about the characters. In this continuation of the Booster Course Pass, each wave will have 2 new characters. Let's assume that the new characters coming in Wave 6 are Diddy Kong and Pauline. If that's the case, then I'd want Wave 7 to have King Babam and Nabbit, Wave 8 to have Hammer Bro and Honey Queen, and Wave 9 to have Funky Kong, and one character that I will reveal later. Before I predict the tracks, I have to assume the tracks that are gonna be in Wave 6, which are most likely, based off of the prefix data mine, going to be Rome Avanti, Mushroom Bridge, DK Mountain, Piranha Plant Cove, Piranha Plant Pipeline, some kind of Madrid track, Ness Bowser Castle 3, and Wii's Rainbow Road. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I can start making the next 3 waves of the Booster Course Pass. So Wave 7 will consist of the Bomb Cup and the Boo Cup. The first track of Wave 7 will be Daisy Circuit, which is a fan favorite. Sort of. Some people like it and other people are just kinda meh about it. One thing I will say is that the track looks great. It already looks really good in Mario Kart Tour, but in Mario Kart 8's engine, it would look incredible. Out of all the circuits in the entire series, I'd say Daisy Circuit is my second favorite. Then again, it is a basic circuit track, so I'm having it start off Wave 7. One thing I want to mention is that I'm prioritizing tracks with unique music and ones that have never been remade before, and Daisy Circuit fits that criteria. The second track of the Bomb Cup might be seen as a bit of a questionable choice, but I'm putting Fraps No Land here. Now I know in one of my most recent videos I said that I hated this track, and I still very much do. However, I've heard good things about the remake in Mario Kart Tour, so I'm willing to give this track a second chance. Especially after Mario Kart DS didn't really remake this track all that well. I also would like to hear this music in Mario Kart 8 style. It's still a pretty basic track, so I'm putting it here. The third track of the Bomb Cup is Cheep Cheep Island. Out of all the Cheep Cheep themed tracks, this one is my favorite in the series, because it has a more moderate difficulty level. This track has always had a special charm to it, probably due to the music, which is awesome, and it needs to be remade in Mario Kart 8 style. Got a pretty good remake in Tour, so I would imagine that the Mario Kart 8 version of this track would also be great. The last track in the Bomb Cup has the Tour prefix. That's because each wave in this continuation of the Booster Course Pass will have one new Nitro track from Mario Kart Tour. And since this is the Bomb Cup, and King Babam is one of the new characters introduced, this track will be Bob-omb Battlefield, based off of the iconic first level from Super Mario 64. On top of just being a nice nostalgic track, this track would be sort of a fusion between DK Mountain and Airship Fortress. It's like DK Mountain in the same way that at the beginning of the track, you get shot up at the top of a mountain, and then the majority of the track is you racing down to the bottom where the finish line is. All the while, bombs are being shot onto the track, and big balls are rolling down alongside you trying to hit the players. And at the bottom of the mountain, right before the finish line, we see the iconic Chain Chomp. which also tries to hit players. Also, something similar to the remix in Mario Galaxy 2 would be perfect for this course's soundtrack. Basically, this track is structured like the Yoshi's Island track from Wave 4, except I'd want this one to be a bit harder. Next is the Boo Cup, and we start off with another questionable choice, Mario Raceway. Now I know what you're saying, 2 circuit tracks in one wave. However, this is a raceway, not a circuit, which is a big difference. This track has been remade before, and it will be reusing music that's already in Mario Kart 8. But in all honesty, with the amount of tracks that are left in Tour, that was bound to happen. This is my favorite raceway track in the series. It has a great layout, and there's tons of shortcuts, which makes it a more complex track than Daisy Circuit, which doesn't really have that many shortcuts in it. So I'm having it start off the Boo Cup. The second track of the Boo Cup is Coco Island 2. However, this will be based off of the RMX variant from Mario Kart Tour. For 2 reasons. One, like in the original Booster Course Pass, where each wave had one Game Boy remake, the continuation of the Booster Course Pass will have each wave have one remake of a SNES RMX variant from Tour. And 2, do you recognize those ramps? It's the same ramps from Excite Bike Arena, so they could just reuse them. While Coco Island 2 has been remade before, its music is not in Mario Kart 8. Although the RMX variant is a more interesting and complex track than the original Coco Island 2, it's still fairly basic, so I'm having it as the second track of the Boo Cup. Next track in the Boo Cup is Yoshi Desert. This is a bit of a polarizing track from Mario Kart Super Circuit. Some people love this track, and some people say it's way too annoying to drive on. One thing I do know is that this track has never been remade before, it has unique music, and it got a pretty good glow up in Mario Kart Tour, so it definitely deserves a chance to shine in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This also can be a pretty difficult track, which is why I'm having it as the penultimate track to the entire wave. The last track of the Boo Cup and Wave 7 as a whole is the big returning fan favorite, and since this is the Boo Cup, it will be Luigis Mansion. I mean, what else is there to say? This is easily one of the best tracks from Mario Kart DS. Endlessly fun, creative, unique, it is the total package. And I would want a new remix for this track, because the Battle Course remix really doesn't work with this track's atmosphere. Moving on to Wave 8, and as you can see, this Booster Course Pass is not organized in the slightest. I honestly tried to, but in the end, I just kinda gave up. Anyways, the Horn Cup will start with Daisy Hills. It's a track that's never been remade, it has unique music, and it's pretty cute. This track is shortcuts galore. I was honestly surprised at how many different alternate paths there were when I replayed it. So I would think that this track could be a nice addition. The second track of the Horn Cup is Vanilla Lake 1, once again based off of the RMX variant. Now, Vanilla Lake is the most hated track from Mario Kart Super Circuit. But the RMX variant from Tour is actually pretty fun. It adds penguins and water geysers, and that gliding section is actually pretty fun. Also, Vanilla Lake has never been remade, so I want to give it a chance. I'm always willing to give underwhelming tracks that have never been remade a chance to shine, since I believe that with some tweaking, every Mario Kart track can be made enjoyable. The third track is a fan favorite, Koopa Troopa Beach. I gushed about this track in my last video, but to keep it short, this track is my favorite beach themed track in the series. It has excellent music, a wonderful layout, awesome shortcuts. It has almost everything that I love about a Mario Kart track. And that's all I have to say about that one. The last track of the Horn Cup is another fan favorite that honestly should have been in the base game to begin with, Guy Bizarro. This is my favorite desert theme track in the entire series, and it's just excellent. Like, I don't even know what else to say. The gameplay speaks for itself. It's a great track. The first track of the Coin Cup is a bit of a questionable choice, but hear me out. I'm putting DK Pass here. This track has been remade before, but it does have unique music. I think that if this track is remade in a game with a good tricking system, it can become really fun. That section where the giant snowballs are tumbling down the hill would be made so much better if you could trick off of the little jumps. I know a lot of people don't like this track for some reason, but I always have, and I'd want to see it return again. It's not the most insane track in the world, so I think it's good that it starts off a cup. The next track in the Coin Cup is Lakeside Park, because honestly I couldn't fit it anywhere else. This is another divisive track from Super Circuit, and while I've actually never played this track before, I can say the remake in Mario Kart Tour is pretty great. I love that on the third lap, the volcano erupts and meteors start spewing onto the track. This is one of the more unique tracks from Mario Kart Super Circuit, so I'd really want to see it come back. The third track of the Coin Cup is a little bit of a weird one, so I'm gonna have to explain myself. At first, I put this track as the third course in the Shine Cup. But upon replaying it, I realized that it's actually more simple than I thought it was. The track in question is 3DS Bowser's Castle. And honestly, this is one of the more forgettable Bowser's Castles in the series. It's not a bad track in the slightest, but I don't know, there's not really a wow factor to this one. There's also some really awkward turns in this track, so I don't know, I'm kinda mixed on this one. Although I do think it can get a good glow up in Mario Kart 8. And we need more Bowser's Castles in Mario Kart 8, so the more the merrier. Remember when I said that in Wave 8 Honey Queen would be returning? That's because the last track of the Coin Cup and Wave 8 is Honey Palace, a new track that is loosely based off of the Honey Hive Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. This track would feature those bug guys, and patches of honey that players would get stuck in, and anti-gravity sections where you drive across the honeycombs on the wall, and maybe even on a honey queen, even if that part of the level is really weird. If Wave 7 and Wave 8 seem a little bit tame, don't worry, because Wave 9, the final wave, has most of the fan favorites to really give it that finale feel to it. The first track of Wave 9 and the Blooper Cup is probably the most famous circuit track in the series, Game Boy Luigi Circuit. This would be the second track in this continuation that reuses music, although I just want to see this track return. It has such an interesting atmosphere compared to any of the other circuit tracks. Also, I love the mechanic of rain coming down onto the track and creating puddles that spin players out. This track is just good, simple fun, and I want to see it return, and it is the perfect way to start off the final wave. The next track of the Blooper Cup is Ghost Valley One. Once again, it is the RMX variant for Mario Kart Tour. I have this one in the final wave because out of all the RMX variants, this one is the most ambitious. It's still nothing crazy, so I'm leaving it here. One thing in this track that needs a big overhaul is the music. It has one of my least favorite songs in the entire series. And honestly, I don't even know what you could do to make it better. Maybe add some extra melodies to it or something? I don't know. The next 5 tracks are all fan favorites, starting with Dino Dino Jungle. Now, this track would be reusing music from the DK Mountain remake in the first Booster Course Pass. I see that as a completely fine thing because this track is fantastic. It's the most unique jungle track in the series. This is one of those tracks where they wouldn't even have to make any changes and it would still be a really fun track to drive on. The last track of the Blooper Cup is a track that was absolutely a no-brainer for the original Booster Course Pass, and I'm still holding out that it may make an appearance in Wave 6. It's Airship Fortress. I said it once and I'll say it again, this is my favorite track in the entire series. It is an absolute crime that it is most likely not going to be in the Booster Course Pass at all. And if there is a second Booster Course Pass, the first priority is making sure they remake this track. I've gushed about this track way too much in other videos, so I'll just leave it at that. For the final cup of the Booster Course Pass, I wanted to start out with a difficult track. And there is no other track more perfect than Wee Dry Dry Ruins. Behind Shy Guy Bizarro, this is a very close second when it comes to desert themed tracks in the series. This track absolutely deserves a remake, especially since half pipes were added to Mario Kart 8, because this track implements the half pipes really well in the pyramid section. Putting this track here is just too perfect in my opinion, and that music, I need a live band playing this music. The second track of the Shine Cup is Wario Shipyard, another track that really should have just been in the base game of Mario Kart 8. This is an excellent track from Mario Kart 7. It's one of the most unique tracks in the series, combining a Wario themed level, a spooky themed level, and a water level all in one to make an incredible experience. The music is also great, and it deserves a great remake in Mario Kart 8. I've always found this to be a pretty difficult track, so putting it here just feels right to me. Penultimate track to Wave 9, and the entire Booster Course Pass as a whole, is one last fan favorite, Game Boy Bowser's Castle 4. Because come on, are we really gonna let all of this go to waste? Nintendo put so much effort into this amazing remake in Mario Kart Tour. One thing I will say is that I don't want this to be a section track if it comes to Mario Kart 8. I'd much rather this be a 2-lap track like Wario Coliseum, seeing as the track is way too long for 3 laps, but a bit too short to be a section track. I expect a fantastic remix of the iconic music, and I want the Mecha Koopas added in. I mean, they're already assets in Mario Kart 8, so that would be easy to implement. Now for the final track of the Booster Course Pass, I'm not picking a retro Rainbow Road. Instead, it will be a brand new Nitro track from Tour. This track will be called Nebula Belt, which is the final level in Kirby's Air Ride, and yes, Kirby would be the final character introduced. Nebula Belt is basically just the Rainbow Road in Kirby's Air Ride, so I think this would be a great opportunity to have one last crossover character in Mario Kart 8. Just make this a really difficult track with lots of Kirby elements in it. Make it similar to the Zelda, F-Zero, and Yoshi's Island tracks in the game. That's how I'd make a second Booster Course Pass, or in this case, a continuation of the Booster Course Pass. Basically, just bring all the fan favorites that are in Mario Kart Tour into Mario Kart 8, with a few other tracks as well. In all honesty, I don't believe that there is going to be a second Booster Course Pass. I believe this current DLC is just to tide us over while they're developing a brand new Mario Kart. So I'm not necessarily counting on there being a second Booster Course Pass. But if Airship Fortress is in Wave 6, then you have to subscribe to my OnlyFans.